I noticed the fingerprints on a Tuesday morning, the kind of quiet weekday that feels unfinished, like the world hasn't fully loaded yet. I was brushing my teeth, staring at the cracked mirror above the sink, when I saw them on the wall behind my shoulder. 5 smudges, slightly darker than the off-white paint, arranged in a way that looked too deliberate to be accidental. They were at shoulder height, right where someone might brace themselves while leaning forward. For a second, I assumed they were mine. People touch walls without thinking. Steam, sweat, oil from skin. It happens. But as I turned around and leaned closer, toothbrush still buzzing in my mouth, something about them felt wrong. They weren't smeared. They were defined. Each finger left a separate mark. Even the curve of a thumb was visible, pressed hard enough to leave a faint crescent. I wiped at them with my sleeve. They didn't fade. I pressed my own hand beside them, matching the position as best I could. My fingers were thicker, shorter. Whoever left these had longer fingers than me, thinner, and their hand was slightly larger. I laughed, a dry, uncomfortable sound, and told myself I was overthinking it. Old apartment, old paint, maybe marks from the previous tenant that had resurfaced over time. I rinsed my mouth, grabbed my keys, and left for work, already late, already annoyed at myself for letting something so small bother me. That night, when I came home, the fingerprints were gone. Relief washed over me so quickly it almost felt embarrassing. See? Nothing. Just paranoia. I ordered takeout, ate on the couch, and watched a dumb reality show until my eyes started to burn. When I got up to throw the trash away, I noticed something new in the hallway. More fingerprints. These were higher up, closer to the ceiling, trailing in a line that followed the length of the corridor. Like someone had been reaching up, fingertips brushing the wall as they walked. I stood there for a long time, bag of trash hanging from my hand, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the distant traffic outside. The prints were faint but unmistakable, too evenly spaced, too intentional. I didn't touch them. I didn't want to. Instead, I threw the trash away, locked the door, and sat back on the couch with all the lights on. I slept poorly that night, waking up every hour with the feeling that someone was standing just out of sight. Over the next few days, the fingerprints multiplied. They appeared in places I rarely went: behind the couch, inside the coat closet, on the wall above my bed, just beyond where my pillow rested. Sometimes they were fresh and dark, as if the person had just pressed their hands there. Other times they were pale and old, barely visible unless the light hit them at the right angle. No matter how much I cleaned, they came back. I scrubbed with soap, bleach, vinegar. I repainted one wall entirely. The next morning, the fingerprints bloomed through the fresh paint like bruises under skin. I started taking pictures, partly to convince myself I wasn't imagining things, partly because I didn't know what else to do. When I showed them to my friend Mark, he stared at the screen for a long time before forcing a laugh. "Dude," he said, "it's probably humidity or something. Old buildings do weird stuff. These look like hands," I said. "They are hands," he replied. "From before. Someone leaned on the wall. Paint settled weird. You're stressed. You've been working non-stop." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But that night, I woke up to a sound I couldn't place. A soft, rhythmic noise, like fabric brushing against drywall. I lay there, heart pounding, listening. It came again. A slow drag, then another. Closer this time. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, landing on the wall beside my bed. A handprint was forming right in front of me. I watched as each finger pressed from the inside, pushing outward, stretching the paint like thin skin. The wall bulged slightly, flexing, as if something underneath was testing its strength. I screamed and scrambled backward, falling out of bed and hitting the floor hard enough to knock the air from my lungs. By the time I looked back, the wall was flat again. The print remained darker than the others, the fingertips elongated, almost claw-like. I didn't sleep again that night. The next day, I called my landlord. He came by in the afternoon, walked through the apartment with a bored expression, and shrugged. "I don't see anything structural," he said. "Walls are solid. No leaks, no pests." "What about the fingerprints?" I asked. He squinted at the wall, then at me. "You sure those weren't already there?" "They appear overnight," I said. "I watched one form." He smiled, the kind of smile adults use when they think someone is confused. "Stress can do funny things," he said. "If you want, I can recommend a painter." After he left, I sat on the floor and cried. Quietly, exhaustedly. Because the worst part wasn't that no one believed me. It was that, deep down, I was starting to understand something he didn't. The fingerprints were not random. They were moving. Every day they crept closer to the center of the apartment, from the outer walls inward, from the hallway toward the bedroom, from the bedroom toward me. I started mapping them, drawing little diagrams in a notebook, marking dates and positions. The pattern was undeniable. Whatever was inside my walls was circling me, learning the space, learning where I spent my time. I stopped inviting people over. I stopped sleeping in my bed. I pushed the couch against the living room wall and slept there instead. Lights on, TV playing softly to drown out the sounds. Sometimes, in the quiet moments between shows, I could hear it. A faint scratching, a careful, patient movement, like fingers testing for weaknesses. One night, driven by a mix of terror and desperation, I did something stupid. I took a hammer from my toolbox and stood in the hallway, staring at a cluster of prints near the ceiling. My hands shook as I raised the hammer. I told myself that if I broke the wall, I'd see wires. Insulation, nothing else. The first swing cracked the drywall with a dull thud. Dust puffed out, making me cough. I swung again, harder this time, opening a jagged hole. I shined my phone's light inside. There was nothing there, no insulation, no studs, just darkness, deeper than it should have been. The beam didn't hit anything solid, no matter how I angled it. It was like shining a flashlight into an open mouth. Then something moved. A pale shape slid past the light, too fast to focus on. I stumbled backward, dropping the hammer. From inside the wall came a sound that made my stomach twist. A wet, shuddering inhale, followed by a slow exhale that pushed air and dust back out through the hole, brushing my face like a breath. The fingerprints exploded across the walls that night. They appeared everywhere at once, overlapping, frantic, as if whatever was inside had realized I could see it now. Hands pressed from every direction, some small, some enormous, some with too many fingers. The walls bowed inward, the ceiling sagged slightly, the entire apartment groaning under the pressure. I ran for the door, but the doorknob wouldn't turn. The wall beside it bulged, a hand forcing its way through, fingers stretching the paint until it split with a sickening tear. I don't remember leaving the apartment. I only remember waking up on the sidewalk outside, barefoot, wrapped in a neighbor's blanket while sirens wailed in the distance. The building stood intact behind me, quiet and normal, as if nothing had happened. When the police asked what was wrong, I told them the truth. They exchanged looks and wrote notes, and eventually suggested I take a few days off somewhere else. I never went back inside. I moved in with Mark for a while, then found a new place across town, new building, new walls. I tried to forget. For a few weeks, it worked. I slept. I laughed. I almost felt normal again, until I noticed the fingerprints. They were faint at first, barely visible in the morning light, just above the baseboard in my new bedroom. 5 thin smudges, pressed from the inside out. Waiting.